why Tenerife? So when I got the papers, I thought, why Tenerife? So it's going to be about the weather, the sun, it's going to be about wine, food, pretty girls.
Yes, it's about that too.
But it's not. And it's much better than that. It's going to be about tax. I've got the minister here. Now, he's only been in the job 3 months, and he's already an expert. But he's been working on the island for the benefit of Tenerife and Tenerifans, presumably. Or you're happy with that? For a long time, so he knows an awful lot about the island. And I've been given 1 or 2 questions, but remember, you are going to have an opportunity to ask questions, and I'd like very much you to put your hand up at any time we're talking and
yes,
interrupt
feel free
us.
to interrupt. Absolutely. Yes,
Okay?
absolutely.
If we might be going off beam. So first of all, Alberto, what is this Zona Especial de Canarias?
Well, thanks everyone for coming, for accepting our invitation. It's a bit tough to explain, but I'll do my best. But the SEC you already saw in the slides, it's a low tax zone that was created in year 2000 just to provide the islands, the regional, all the 7 islands. It's not just for Tenerife, which is the largest island, as Stephanie said, but it's a low tax zone for the 7 islands, for the region of the Canary Islands, just to provide the economic and social development of the islands, because historically, well, we are far away from the continent, and since the 18th century we have had a special tax system and special protections in the island because of our position in the middle of the Atlantic. We have had some help from the Spanish government historically, and we maintain one of the best systems, which is called SEC, Zona Special Canary
Sex.
Zone.
Or
SEC.
SEC. Right. Now, you won't mind me interrupting you, because we've got to get moving, haven't we?
Of course.
I mean, so this privileged position the island has had is rooted in history.
Really?
Because since it's become Spanish, they realized you were remote, you needed a lot of help.
We do need it because we have we don't have a strong economy. We are based in tourism, of course. We are leaders in tourism. That's a fact, and we live, mostly of our economy depends, out of 3 euros, 1 out of 3 employments in the islands come from tourism. But of course our industry is not so strong. We have to import most of the goods we consume, and of course we need some help to have a better development in the island. So we do have some support different than from the continent for the islands.
Yeah.
SEC is it's a good example. It's a consortium between the Spanish government and the Canary Islands government, and there is no thing like it in the rest of the country. So it's just special zone for the Canary Islands.
Yes. Well, what we have had from Stephanie is a complete rundown on the tax benefits. So I don't think we need to cover those again. But it looks to me as if in recent years you've built up this concept to become significantly more attractive, and it's therefore being almost relaunched. Is that what you're doing?
Well, it's been approved since year 2000, and you're right, we are trying to relaunch this system because of some reasons. First of all, because we have a scheme that is approved now until 2036. So companies can be sure it's not going to be over in 2 years' time or in 5 years' time. So we have it approved until 2036. And we are so sure that the special reduced rate that it has, which is 4%, as you saw in the presentation, the average taxes in Europe, it's 23% regarding the corporate income tax, and here is 4%. I mean, you can tell the difference. And many companies are taking into account that is a very large benefit for the companies if you have other things together. I mean, only a 4% tax rebate is not maybe enough. You have to have more things. That's why our presentation talks a lot about infrastructure, airports, air connectivity, data connectivity, quality of life, why not? And some companies are finding lately that it's altogether, it's quite enough to take a big decision, which is open a company in the islands.
I remember when the president of American Express decided on a new office and he moved it to Phoenix from New York. And I think it was something to do with about the weather. So it's an amazing thing how corporations do make their decisions. Now, all these goodies don't come for nothing, do they? I mean, there are one or two quite strict requirements.
Well, there are some requirements. Of course, it's not for free, but I believe they are. Well, you have to decide about that. But I think they are quite easy to comply. Mainly, we have 5 requirements to be a SEC company. First, it's going to be a newly created company, and of course, your effective place has to be in the islands, which is common sense, I would say. At least one person one administrator has to must reside in the islands, any of the islands. It's not just Tenerife again, but well, of course, I represent the island government, and I will try to do my best to have companies coming to Tenerife, but it's the same in the 7 islands. The minimum investment is 100,000 euros, which is in fixed assets related to the activity within the first 2 years of the company. And regarding employment, we have a requirement, which is during the first 6 months, you have to create 5 jobs, which is not so much. Of course, you have to maintain those 5 jobs during the time you get the benefits from the zone. And also a given but necessary to say is that companies must operate the permitted activities in the SEC.
Now, it all is above board, isn't it? I mean, you're not an offshore jurisdiction. You're very much onshore. Perhaps you'd like to explain why you get so many benefits onshore, which sound very much offshore, if you get my meaning.
Yes, but you have to understand also that we, as I was saying, we have a strong economy in some sectors, but we have a weak economy because we don't have the facilities we have in the continent. So at the end of the day, our unemployment in Spain and in the Canary Islands is higher than we deserve. So I think some of these benefits, not only the Spanish government, but the European Union, they decided it was a good thing to have. We are not a fiscal paradise. You say paradise? You say
That's all right.
heaven?
Yeah.
I think
Haven.
Paradise is fine.
we are not
Haven.
that. Haven. We are not that. We are transparent. All the economy is all the bank movements are provided to the Bank of Spain and so on, like in the rest of Spain or most of the European Union. But still, these benefits, I think they are supported because of our economy and also because of the solidarity of the rest of the country and the rest of the European Union, because I think we call it ultra-peripheric regions. There are some in Europe and in the Caribbean also, but within Europe we are one of the most known, most important, and I think because of those reasons we have those benefits.
Now, this question wasn't in the suggested questions.
No problem.
But compare yourself with Andorra.
I think we have nothing to do. we have not.
Are they a better place to be, or I know it's colder?
It's much colder, but I think they are more close to this haven.
Tax haven.
Tax haven than us. We are not a tax haven destination, let's say, but also they are in the continent. I mean, they have their economy has nothing to do. They don't have this system. In fact, I don't believe they have any. They do have benefits for money, but not for industries, not for companies. So what we want is companies to establish in the islands, to bring their people, to hire the people from the island. That example of Atos that you saw, I've been myself in that company. 400 people, it's a lot. They hire, because they are giving services to many companies around the world, telephone services, for example, for Boeing or this aviation companies, and all the services are given from Tenerife in any languages. Over 30 nationalities we have working in that company, and they hire 400 people from the island with, of course, all those languages, and they established their company there, giving services worldwide. So that's a good example. They are growing. They have announced that they are going to double their services, because at the end of the day, they have better results because of these taxes, these low taxes, than all the Atos
subsidiaries, yeah.
Subsidiaries all over the world. So at the end of the day, that's what most of the companies are looking after.
So it's not a tax haven, but it's aimed principally at companies, new companies.
New companies.
Now, who can benefit then? What sort of people can benefit?
Would be, you have all the information in the pen drive. I believe everybody has the pen drive, but it might be easier to say who cannot benefit, because it's just banks cannot be a part of the section, and also hotels. We are so strong in.
So who can't benefit then? Banks
Can't.
cannot.
Cannot.
Hoteliers.
Hoteliers and
No.
property.
Construction
companies.
construction company.
Cannot.
So that's quite a chunk of people that can't benefit.
Well,
Insurance companies, for instance.
Insurance only these four: insurance companies, hotels, construction companies, and banks.
But
I think
anybody else.
Anybody else can.
Right.
Can I?
But, sorry, but you need infrastructure into the island. Why you don't encourage construction company to have the benefit?
You know, our economy, when it broke in Spain and also in the Canary Islands 6 years ago, our model was based. I said tourism, but it was not true. Tourism and construction. Tourism has been quite strong, although the crisis we've been through, but construction went down dramatically. So you will say, well, that's a good option to benefit them, but we found out that that system was quite weak, because we are an island. We had only 2,000 square kilometers of surface, and most of 50% of our territory is protected territory. So you have to take into account that we cannot spoil a fragile territory. So we thought it was better to support not more buildings, let's say, not more new construction, but to promote the renewal of the hotels and the existing constructions we had. And that had some incentives from the Canary Islands government, not new construction, because if we were going to keep on constructing, we will, drown
Yes, we'll sink the island.
as a whole.
But didn't you look into bringing manufacturer company to avoid to be 100% net importers?
Of course, that's
So
under.
that would be involved in construction.
Well, but it's avoided from the legislation because of what I told you before. But the rest, it's permitted.
Okay, Stephanie.
Stephanie will point it better.
No, he explained it quite clearly, but just to clarify what the minister was saying, when he mentioned the sectors that were not able to have fiscal advantages, he was speaking specifically about the ZEC, about the 4% corporate tax rate. There are other fiscal advantages that, for example, for construction companies, are extremely attractive. And there is a way as well. So there's to keep going with the construction example, there's a fiscal advantage which is called the return on reserve of investment, the ROIC. Basically what that allows construction companies to do is they can redistribute up to 90% of their profits tax-free. So a construction company that, let's say, came up with, I don't know, $1 million that year in profits, can use that to reinvest either in other properties, or in employment, or in research and development, whatever they need to do to keep growing their company. So just because you may not be able to be within the ZEC zone at the 4% corporate tax rate.
If you're not in the zone, what is the tax rate?
So then you go to the general regime in Spain, the general tax regime in Spain, except for the indirect tax. I'm sure that's another one of the questions, and I'll get to that, but I'll just jump ahead. The indirect tax in Spain, we do not have the VAT. We do not have the European VAT. We have an indirect tax, which is a flat tax called the IGIC, and it's only at 7%. So no matter what, even if you're not in the ZEC, even if you're not in the free trade zone, even if you don't have any of the sector-specific tax credits, you're still going to be ahead of the game because the flat rate, the equivalent VAT tax in Tenerife is only 7%. So no matter what, if you're in Tenerife, you're going to have advantages.
There we are. We must move on. And the good questions are always asked after the meeting, when you can corner somebody and they say, psst, you know. So it sounds to me, whatever you want, you're looking as if you're going to get it. Now, basically, you've done very well at films.
Yes.
Now tell us all about your films and the taxes.
We have discovered, we always had so many sunlight hours during the year. We have very nice sceneries along the island, and we created the Tenerife Film Commission like 10 years ago or 12 years ago, trying to attract not only movies, also commercials, any kind of industry related to filming. But like 5 years ago, we did they call it locator fun trip. The big companies, the big film companies, they have locators and they go all over the world trying to find location scouts. That's right. And so we did. We invited some of them to the island, and a guy liked a lot Mount Teide, which is the highest peak in the island in Spain, which is in the island, and he liked it. And we didn't know, but behind him, he had Clash of the Titans. You remember? I think we have two movies from Clash of the Titans. So. At the end of the day, they decided to shoot Clash of the Titans in Tenerife. That was a large movie, a large investment in the island. We had lots of incomes for the island. So we, for the first time in the last 30 years, we had a large international production in the island. So we saw we had some potentials, but the tax scenery for them was the same as in the mainland or in France or wherever. Malta has a very special rates for filming, but we didn't. So the regional government negotiated with the national government to have a special rate for this sector. And finally, we got it, and since January, I believe, since January 15, we have a tax credit on up to 40% of only for foreign productions that are filmed in the island. So what happened? We had Fast and Furious filmed in the island in 2014, and a month ago we were with Matt Damon. He's been 3 months filming in the island. The new edition of Jason Bourne, I think it's going to be Jason Bourne 5. And so they filmed for I think it was 35 days of filming, and that's a huge movement. We have had almost 15 million euros invested in hotels, lights, services, security, and so on. A part of the promotion of the island that we will have when they show the movie all over the world. So suddenly we have found that what we already knew, that we had big potential for movies being shot in the island, but right now the international companies know they have a very good tax scheme in the island. So in fact it's moving so fast that right now we have had 2 new petitions for 2016 to film some part of new American movies in the island. So
yeah, it's all very encouraging. Now, the next question I find very amusing. It says, do you need to live in Tenerife? Well, who wouldn't want to? But you can get all these benefits and you can just visit, effectively, as an owner.
As in any other place, you can create a company and you can live wherever you want, except I was mixing, you're right, the sex zone with the normal procedure creating a company. In the sex zone you have to have one administrator, at least one, living in the island. But in the other, in our normal procedure, you can live wherever you want.
So could you become a resident if you had a company in Tenerife? Could you become a resident, and what would be the tax regime applying to you?
No, but if you are from the European Union, you have the same treatment as a resident, let's say.
So you can come and live. What would be the tax that you would pay on your?
As Stephanie said, especially the VAT, which is 21% in Spain. I think it's 20 in the UK. General VAT. We have only it's not called VAT, but it's the same tax. At the end of the day, it's only 7%. The national taxes are just the same, although we have some exemptions, as Stephanie said. But the general VAT, regional VAT, is only 7%.
And moving on, for those that are UK residents, what are the double taxation arrangements?
Well, that's something good. We don't have a double tax problem, because it's been solved. We have an agreement, not we, the Spanish government and the UK. We have an agreement, so you can take advantage of that agreement on double taxation. So we won't have double taxation.
Nice. Now, anybody at this point would like to ask a question?
Sure.
No?
Either you've done brilliantly or they want some more coffee, I'm not sure.
Oh, well, probably both. There is a gentleman in the front.
Do you impose withholding tax on dividends, interest and royalties?
No. Stephanie, can you?
The short answer to your question is no. So it's specific, we can go back to the UK example. You do not have to pay, so the subsidiary, the parent company of the subsidiary in Tenerife does not have to pay withholding. And if there is a double taxation treaty signed with that country, then also
Are there any other questions you want me to ask? I think they're finished. Okay.
Same.
Well, the Minister thinks we've finished. And I think, therefore, we have.
Lovely.
Thank you.
The answer to the personal taxation situation, because I don't understand what the personal tax rates are.
They're the usual Spanish personal tax rates.
Personal for an individual.
Yeah.
Yes, the same. We don't have. We have the same treatment as in the whole country. There is no difference.
And what is the maximum amount of time that one has to spend, or is allowed to spend in Tenerife before they become resident in Tenerife? the following tax note?
153 days.
It'll do.
But
Another question.
Still on the personal taxation side of things, Spain operates an impatriate policy for having to move over through need of employment. Does that extend to Tenerife? Can you elaborate a bit
I
more?
think it's the same. It's the same.
Yes, it does extend.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the only thing we didn't touch on, I mentioned it briefly in the presentation, but it's also very important, is the free trade zone. So companies that are operating in logistical services or industry can benefit from the free trade zone, which, to summarize very, very briefly in one sentence, you would be exempt from import and export duties on all the goods that you need to manufacture.
In Las Palmas.
Yes. On all the goods that you need to manufacture, and then you can send it to whatever country outside of the EU duty-free.
And there was another point I picked up. There's something cooking with Panama. Would you like to talk about it?
I mean, it's
Or not?
it's a newly agreement we have had with Panama. We have this, in fact, this free trade zone, which is trying to be launched in the island. It's quite new. That's why I didn't want to explain it so much. But we have a strategic position in between Europe, Africa, and Latin America. In fact, we have more relations with Latin America than with Africa, although we are much more near from Africa. But we have had lots of people living in Venezuela, in Uruguay. Many Canarian people went there in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s. So we have lots of relations, and we have recently signed a cooperation agreement with Panama, and we are trying to develop this Mid-Atlantic free trade zone corridor, so we can have all of these goods regarding the free trade zone between America, especially Panama, as you know, it's a large meeting point of goods because of their port, through the Canary Islands, through Tenerife, and to Africa and Europe. So hopefully we will give you good news quite soon about that.
Oh, well, I think Panama, always interesting. Let's leave it at that. Well, I've asked all my questions.
Lovely.
I'm going to pass Alberto over to the ladies again, and over to you.